Today on 10-Minute IT Jams, we're joined by Gurrie, who is the CEO of Socialsuite. Adopted by more than 165 organizations globally, Socialsuite is a software platform that offers ESG and impact reporting. Brad joins us today to tell us more about Socialsuite, its offering, and where the company is focused next. Thank you for joining us today, Brad, and welcome to the Jam.
Thanks, Zach.
So, for a business that hasn't worked with Socialsuite before, what is your key offering?
Yeah, for those organizations that are unfamiliar with Socialsuite, as you mentioned, that we're working with 165 organizations, and they're predominantly in Australia and North America. And essentially what we're doing is we're helping those organizations get started and mature with their environmental, social, and corporate governance reporting. And the problem that we're solving for these organizations is that we know that the large organizations are able to go out and engage consultants and build out their bespoke technology and also have internal teams. But when we're thinking about environmental, social, and governance, ESG, for the longer tail of companies, all those smaller organizations, it's complex, it's expensive for those organizations. And what we're doing is we're creating a technology solution to really make it affordable and accessible for those organizations to get started and then also mature with their ESG disclosures, reporting, and that data collection piece.
Fantastic. And what is driving the adoption of ESG, and why is technology important?
Yeah, so what we've seen certainly over the last 5 years, and I'd say that if we were to drill into it, definitely the last 2 years, is that we've seen a lot more adoption around environmental, social, and governance reporting. And essentially that's, we look at it in the business as 3 key drivers around that. One is capital, the other one is customers, and the third one is around compliance. And if we look at each of those individually, capital, there's trillions of dollars that are flowing into ESG investors from an investment perspective. That's largely the big institutional capital. And what they're looking for is that in the same way that companies are disclosing their financial information, they're hoping that companies will also disclose their non-financial data. And they're looking at that to be able to identify what are the inherent risks that these companies may have and make investment decisions along that. So that's what's driving it from an investment perspective. From a customer perspective is that when customers are adopting, when organizations are adopting ESG reporting, they're looking at it from the perspective is that they can get more customers, particularly when they're responding to RFPs. So what you would see is that large organizations, and particularly government, are asking for companies to substantiate their environmental, social, and governance credentials and being able to substantiate that as they respond to RFPs. So companies adopting it will certainly be in a better position to win those tenders when they're able to provide detailed information around that, as opposed to some ad hoc initiatives, but being able to have a comprehensive report is very important. And the last one's around compliance. And this is a really interesting one in the fact that we're seeing a lot of legislation come into the market in Europe. And what that means is that for organizations, whether they're based in Australia or in the North American market, wanting to do business in Europe, they're going to have to start to comply with some of that legislation that's coming out of Europe. But we're also seeing in Australia and North America that there's pending legislation as well. So that means that companies now need to start to prepare themselves to get in a position where they can start to respond to that legislation that's coming down.
Awesome. And what are the most recent improvements or innovations in your offering?
Yeah, Zach, unsurprisingly, AI is an area that an area that we're starting to see some really interesting innovation around. And that's largely due to organizations wanting to remove some of the complexity out of their ESG reporting. And the area that we're focusing AI around is being able to take some of that quantitative, qualitative data and then being able to overlay it with frameworks to help organizations be able to prepare their ESG disclosures. And what we're seeing is that it takes a lot of the, removes a lot of the time and also allows organizations to really prepare that information and then review that before it's publicly released. So we're quite optimistic about the place that AI will play around ESG disclosures and reporting. And we see that as an enabler for organizations. It certainly won't replace the whole process, but it definitely allows organizations to get a lot more efficiency in their ESG reporting and disclosures.
Awesome. And what trends are your product development teams laser focused on next?
Well, when it comes to being laser focused around our product, this is a very important area. As I've mentioned, is that what we're looking to do is remove complexity and continue to make it really affordable for organizations to report their ESG disclosures. And one of the key things that we see is that, with more than 300 different ESG reporting frameworks, being able to collect data and respond to that, can be quite overwhelming for organizations. So one of the things that we're really focused on is allowing organizations to input data once and then being able to map out to multiple frameworks and being able to have a central repository of information for all your ESG data is a really important part. What we see is a lot of organizations are using spreadsheets, and the complexity that comes along with that and the loss of corporate memory as somebody moves can be quite problematic. In the same way that organizations don't do their financials in spreadsheets, nor should the ESG data be done in spreadsheets. So that's a really important area of focus for us to ensure that data accuracy is there. We're also really looking at things where we can engage other stakeholders. So through being able to automate things like a materiality assessment, which is really core to ESG reporting, we're able to go out and engage stakeholders and create quite comprehensive risk and opportunity materiality assessments for organizations. So that's definitely one of the areas that we're really focused on as the next versions of the Socialsuite platform gets released.
Fantastic. And if an enterprise end user wanted to engage with Socialsuite, what is the best way to get in touch?
Well, Zach, the best way to get in touch is to head to our website, which is socialsuitehq.com, or alternatively, if somebody wants to send me an email, they can send me an email at brad@socialsuitehq.com, and I can have the team get in touch and we can find out how we can assist those organizations.
Brilliant. Well, it has been great to find out more about Socialsuite and how you support your customers. Thank you so much for joining us on the Jam today, Brad. We look forward to hearing more from Socialsuite in the near future.
Thanks for the opportunity, Zach.